Okay, so today we are diving into How to Talk to Anyone.
By Leil Lowndes.
This book, it's like legendary for being packed with these almost like secret techniques for charisma.
Mhm.
And we're going to break down the most interesting, the most actionable stuff.
Yeah. And what I really love about Lowndes' approach is it's so practical. Like, she doesn't just
Uh-huh.
say, be more charming. She gives you the tools to actually do it.
It's true. And these aren't just for like being the most fun person at a party.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't say no to that, but like they have real impact on your career, relationships.
Exactly. Like, even how influential you are in a meeting. Think about how much of our lives involve communicating with other people.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah, pretty much everything. So this book just gives you the tools to kind of like level up in all those areas.
Yeah. Okay, and she jumps right into it with those like high stakes first 10 seconds of meeting someone.
Yeah, I mean, that's when it really counts,
Oh
right?
my gosh, yeah.
Those first impressions. Lowndes, she describes it as like a primal reaction. Like, even before our brains have time to really process anything consciously, we're already reading each other's body language.
Have you ever walked into a room, there's someone there you've never met, and you just get a vibe?
Totally, yeah. It's like we
Yeah.
have this sixth sense about people. It's
Yeah.
like before a word has been spoken,
It's
you
crazy.
kind of already have a sense of their energy.
You can just tell.
And Lowndes actually, she mentions this experience when she was working abroad. And she was in situations where she didn't even speak the language, but she could immediately pick up on, like, who is friendly, who seemed to have more power in a company,
Wow.
just based on these nonverbal cues.
Knowing that those nonverbal cues are like our secret language,
Yes.
how do we hack that?
Well, one of her most, I guess, famous and probably practical techniques is what she calls the flooding smile. But it's not just like plastering on a fake smile, right? It's about pausing when you meet someone
Yeah.
and kind of like really looking at them, taking them in,
Yeah.
and then letting this warm, genuine smile kind of spread across your face.
Oh, I like that.
And it reaches your eyes, right?
That's nice. I like that so much more than just like, oh, I'm supposed to smile. It has a purpose.
Yeah, and it's like you're saying, this smile is for you. And then along with that, she talks about epoxy eye. And it's basically maintaining really strong eye contact, even in those moments when the conversation might pause, because it makes you seem more like present, engaged, intelligent.
You know what's so funny about this? I'm just remembering, I think she tells this in the book, about a woman who took one of her workshops and made a point of holding eye contact with Lowndes.
It's so funny because Lowndes talks about it like this woman was looking at me and I just felt so seen and heard, and it made such an impact on her.
It's incredible, isn't it? How powerful that can be.
It's wild.
And there's actually like a scientific reason for it. So intense eye contact, it triggers this release of phenylethylamine in the brain.
Say that one more time.
Phenylethylamine, it's a chemical,
Okay.
and it's the same chemical that gets released like when you're falling in love. So it creates this kind of like instant connection, intimacy, all those good things.
Whoa. So it's like we're chemically wired to respond to it.
Exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the flooding smile, we've got epoxy eyes. What else? What's next?
Okay, so to really embody confidence, it's time for what Lowndes calls hang by your teeth.
What are we talking about?
So picture this. You're about to walk into, I don't know, a big meeting, a party, or even just your own kitchen.
And you're feeling a little bit deflated, right? You just need a little boost.
Yeah.
She wants you to imagine there's this invisible bit hanging from the doorway.
Okay.
And as you walk through, you like chomp down on it. So it kind of like pulls your cheeks back slightly into a smile
Okay.
and instantly lifts your posture.
Oh, it's like a posture hack.
It is a posture hack.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, it's all about like commanding attention, owning your space.
I love it that we can use it walking into our own kitchen.
Exactly.
So good. Okay, this is great. But I do have to say, everything we've talked about so far is very much like what we're projecting outward.
Mhm.
What about the flip side? How good are we at picking up on what other people are putting out?
You're like reading the next chapter of the book. That's exactly what she dives into next. And it all starts with this really interesting story about Clever Hans.
Clever Hans. Okay, now that name rings a bell.
Okay, so Clever Hans was this horse. And back in the day, everyone thought he could do math.
Wait a minute.
So people would ask Hans these math questions, and he would tap out the answer with his hoof.
That's insane.
Of course, everyone's like, oh my gosh, this horse is a genius. But as it turns out, he wasn't actually doing math. He was reading these subtle cues from the audience to know when to stop capping.
So he was picking up on their nonverbal signals to get the right answer.
Exactly.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
See.
But it just goes to show, like, how much we communicate without even realizing it.
Okay. What is the takeaway there for us? We're not horses, hopefully.
Hopefully not. But I think the takeaway there is that it's so important to pay attention to how people are reacting to what we're saying. It's not enough to just focus on our words. We have to be kind of like aware of how they're being received.
Yeah. Are they leaning in? Are they like, do their eyes glaze over?
Totally.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah, it's not just about talking. It's about being kind of like a communication detective, reading the room, reading the person, and then adjusting how you communicate based on those cues.
It's like that saying, right? It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Exactly.
But she takes it a step further and says, it's also about how you make the other person feel.
Yeah. It's about making people feel seen, heard, understood, all of that.
Which brings us to everyone's favorite topic, small talk.
Everybody loves small talk.
I'm being sarcastic.
I know.
I mean, she even calls it at one point small talk-ophobia.
Yes.
Because she knows how many people have it. Like, it's real.
It points out even like, Pablo Casals, the cellist, Carly Simon, like these incredibly like successful performers get stage fright.
Of course.
So it's like clearly this fear of those initial interactions, it's universal.
We all have that voice that's like, don't be awkward, don't mess this up.
Totally. Don't say the wrong thing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, how do we, like, silence that voice?
So Lowndes, she has a ton of techniques, as you might imagine.
I was going to say.
But one of my favorites, and it's so practical, is what she calls never the naked city.
Never the naked city. I kind of get it.
And basically it's about never letting a conversation die on like a one-word answer.
Yeah, because you're just like visualize it.
Exactly.
It's empty.
It's like a dead end.
Yeah.
So instead of just saying, Chicago when someone asks where you're from,
yeah,
you could say, Chicago. It's known for its amazing architecture and, of course, the deep dish pizza.
Okay.
Right. You give them something to work with.
You're giving them a hook.
Exactly.
And I think that ties into another one of her big ideas, which I love, which is like this tailored conversational bait.
Yes.
Like you're not going to use the same approach with everybody, right? You got to read the room, read the person.
Exactly. You want to find that common ground, right?
Got to like be a conversational chameleon. I love it. But okay, speaking of adapting, this other one always makes me laugh. Parroting.
Ah, yes. Parroting. This is great for those moments when you just, like, you've got nothing.
Oh, yeah. Brain fog is real.
Brain fog is real.
It happens to the best of us.
And all it is you just pick up on a key word or a phrase that the other person has said, and you kind of, like, you just repeat it back as a question.
That's genius.
Right.
So you don't even have to come up with something new.
It takes the pressure off.
Oh, my God. It's amazing. And it shows you're listening.
And it encourages them to keep talking, which people love to do.
People love to talk. Oh, my gosh. That's so good.
Lowndes tells this story. She gets in a cab, and she's, like, exhausted.
Yeah.
And she's doing this to the cab driver. And she says she's, like, half asleep.
Yeah.
And by the end, the cab driver has told her the entire plot of Sweeney Todd.
What? No way. Just from her doing the parroting thing?
It's just from parroting.
That's amazing.
And it's like people, they love to talk about things that they're passionate about or that they know a lot about. And this is like giving them an invitation to do that.
Okay, but let's say, we've moved beyond small talk. We're having a real conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe we're even trying to get someone on board with an idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's when things get really interesting in this book.
Because the stakes are higher.
Yes.
So she dives into these really like almost tactical techniques for those trickier conversations.
Okay.
And one of the most powerful is what she calls communication.
Communication.
Yes.
So it's all about the other person, I'm assuming.
It is 100% about the other person.
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea that, and it's based on psychology, right? That people are more receptive to information when it benefits them directly.
That makes sense.
Right.
It appeals to their self-interest.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of saying like, this project is going to be amazing, you would say you are going to have a chance to really shine on this project.
Ooh, subtle shift.
Subtle shift.
But big impact.
Big impact.
Because now it's about them.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good.
And it can be so effective, even in really like challenging situations. And she tells the story about this client of hers who was going through a divorce.
Okay.
And people were just like constantly asking her these really intrusive questions.
Oh, yeah. How do you deflect that without being rude?
So she used this technique that Lowndes calls the broken record technique. So simple, but so effective. Whenever anyone asked her a question that she didn't want to answer,
Yeah.
she would just repeat the same response over and over again with the exact same word, with the same tone of voice.
Okay.
So it's like she was just this broken record.
I love it. That's so good.
And eventually, people got the message.
Wow, that's so good. I
Yeah.
love that. It's like you are building this reputation for being like unflackable,
Yes,
which honestly, that's a superpower.
totally.
But before we move on from these like, kind of trickier situations, right, she talks about interacting with celebrities
Oh, yeah.
and how even though we might be like starstruck,
Right. Yeah.
there are ways to like make it less weird for everybody,
Sure.
more natural.
Yeah, and it goes back to that, like, reading the room, being respectful.
Yeah.
And she has this great line. It's called, big shots don't slobber.
Okay.
I know. Basically, it's this idea of treating celebrities like people, like acknowledging their accomplishments without, going overboard.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to feel like fawned over.
Play it cool.
Exactly. And, speaking of making people feel appreciated,
Yeah.
Lowndes has this great technique. It's called encore.
Encore. Okay.
And it's all about encouraging someone to retell a story that they love telling.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
Because some people, they have their stories.
They do.
How do you do it?
So let's say, you're at a dinner party. Someone's just told this really, like, captivating story.
Yeah.
And then later on, there's, like, a new audience. You can be like, oh, my gosh, you have to tell them about that time when.
Oh, that's so good.
Right. It gives them, like, a chance to shine.
Yes. It makes them feel good.
Exactly.
And everyone gets to hear the story.
And everybody wins.
Yeah. It's like a win-win. I love it. Encore. Okay. But it strikes me that so many of these techniques are like going beyond the actual words.
Yes.
They're coming out of our mouths.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's more about the energy or the intention.
And Lowndes, she talks about this specifically when she introduces the idea of auditory, visual, and kinesthetic learners.
Okay, right. Like how people learn differently.
Yeah, that people receive information in different ways.
Yes. How do we use that in our everyday conversations, though?
So it's like by paying attention to how someone is talking about their experiences, you can kind of pick up on, like, okay, what's their dominant style?
Okay.
So, for example, if you notice that they're using a lot of, like, visual language,
Yeah, okay.
like, I see what you mean,
Yeah.
you could mirror that back
Well,
with a visual empathizer.
Mm.
You could say something like, oh, my gosh, you have just a clear picture of that situation.
It's like you're speaking their language.
Exactly. Even if you don't necessarily share that same, like, background or experience.
But you're creating that connection.
Exactly.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
It's funny. She tells this story about her friend Yamaka, who moved from Japan.
Yes.
And was terrified, understandably so,
Of course, yeah.
of talking to, like, American doctors.
Right.
Just because of the language barrier.
Totally.
But she said she just learned 2 key phrases.
What were they?
What's your specialty?
Okay.
And are you affiliated with a hospital?
So good.
And that was it. That's all she needed.
And that just made her feel so much more confident.
Yes.
Right.
Because she had those 2 things.
Exactly. She had, like, something to go on.
Yeah. It's like those small steps.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be this big, overwhelming thing.
Just a couple of little things can make a big difference.
And, speaking of kind of like preparing in advance, which is what that is, right?
Yes.
It reminds me of the advice that Lowndes gives about, like, working a room like a politician does.
Okay, yes. They always seem so smooth, the politicians.
I know. So she was, like, observing these people at events, and she noticed that many of them, they would use their business cards.
Okay.
Not just for contact info, but, like, almost like little dossiers.
Okay.
So they would meet someone.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, they would jot down, like on the back of the business card,
Oh.
a couple key details about the person.
So smart.
Exactly.
Right.
And it makes that follow-up, so much more personal.
Yes. And it shows you were listening, which, as we know, is so huge.
Huge.
Okay, so I feel like we've covered, like, the first impression. Handling tricky conversations, working a room, like we're running for office.
Like a pro.
Anything else? What are we missing from our, like, communication arsenal?
I think Lowndes leaves us with this really important reminder, which is that all of these techniques are pretty much useless if they're not rooted in genuine interest in other people,
That's so true.
right? Like you can have all the tools, you can have all the tricks.
It's like putting on a show.
It's not genuine.
Exactly. It's all about that connection.
It really is all about connection. And I think, when you combine that genuine interest with these tools, then you become someone that people actually want to talk to.
That's it. Someone that people want to connect with.
And who wants to be the person that people are like running away from at a party?
Nobody wants that.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the takeaway.
Be interested.
Be interested. And use these amazing tools
The tools.
from Leil Lowndes.
How to talk to anyone.
Oh my gosh, such a good one.
Such a good one.
Okay, this was so fun. I feel like I have homework now. I have to go practice all this.
I love it.
Same. Always student, never a master.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll be diving into more communication, charisma, all that good stuff
Oh, for sure.
very soon. So until then, keep those conversations flowing. We will see you next time.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. It would be a great source of help to maintain and develop this channel and the correlated website. This book overview was presented to you by olbooksummary.com. Are you interested in more insights into personal development books or motivational and inspirational books? Please visit olbooksummary.com and you will find a library of the most helpful self-development and human character development books overviews. See you soon with the next books overview video.